Coming up, Vice President Kamala Harris picks up support as talk continues about Governor Beshear as a possible running mate.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 11.
Good evening, I'm Steve Hensley. Vice President Kamala Harris has secured the support of enough Democratic delegates to become her party's nominee against Donald Trump. That is according to an Associated Press survey taken in the aftermath of President Joe Biden's sudden decision yesterday to drop his bid for re-election. The vice president visited the newly minted Harris headquarters in Wilmington, Delaware today. The Harris campaign also added $81 million to its war chest in 24 hours, setting a new presidential fundraising record. Meanwhile, Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear made national television appearances today as he is considered one of the top choices for Harris's running mate. Kelsey Soto begins our campaign 2024 coverage.
Flattered is how Governor Andy Beshear describes feeling as his name is tossed around for consideration on the Democratic vice presidential ticket.
Well, I think if somebody calls you on that, what you do is at least listen. And I want the American people to know what a Kentuckian is and what they look like, because let me just tell you that J.D. Vance ain't from here.
Beshear says he fully supports Vice President Kamala Harris to lead the country.
As a prosecutor, as an attorney general like I used to be, she prosecuted rapists, domestic abusers, stood for victims, and put away those abusers. Now look at the other side, where J.D. Vance calls pregnancy arising from rape inconvenient.
However, some point out Beshear hasn't had to take a stance on a lot of controversial national discussions, like the conflict between Israel and Palestine.
Because the goalposts of the Kentucky abortion debate are on the right? Because we have this near total abortion ban, he's able to just say, I don't support this near total abortion ban, instead of having to constantly litigate where exactly he is on that specific issue.
And the Bluegrass isn't even a swing state, so it may not be as appealing to the party.
When you think about Josh Shapiro in Pennsylvania, Roy Cooper in North Carolina, these are states that really could go either way and have trended, at least in the most recent polls, a little Republican, and are states that Democrats need to get over the finish line. Kentucky is not a state Democrats need.
But Lieutenant Governor Jacqueline Coleman said this morning she will be prepared to fill his role if necessary.
The reason that they pick a lieutenant governor is to have that succession plan in place, and they pick someone they believe is ready. And I wouldn't have accepted if I didn't think I was ready, and I don't think the governor would have asked me if he didn't think I was ready. So I'm ready.
That was Kelsey Soto reporting. Now, Governor Beshear also appeared on CNN tonight. He said the vice president called him personally on Sunday. The governor says he has not been asked to submit any materials for vetting purposes. He said that the variety of options floated for a potential VP pick are strong, while also calling out the Trump-Vance campaign.
I think any of the names that I'm hearing, and a lot of them are friends, would eat J.D. Vance's lunch every day on a debate stage leading up to November.
Now, J.D. Vance also called out Governor Beshear today in his first solo campaign appearance, saying the governor's political career has been built on the success of his father, former Kentucky Governor Steve Beshear. Kentucky Secretary of State Michael Adams says if a hypothetical Harris-Beshear ticket won in November, the governor would be forced to step down as governor.
It would be upon the resignation of the governor as governor. And he could do that in November after the election. He could do that in December when the Electoral College would formally make him vice president-elect. He could do that by January 20th at noon. So it would be up to the governor.
Now, Adams adds, unlike some other states, Beshear does not have to resign as governor if he is just a candidate for vice president. Kentucky ballots for the fall election will not need to be changed. They are not printed until September, after the Democratic convention in August in Chicago. The director of the U.S. Secret Service says she is not going anywhere, despite calls for her to give up her job. Director Kimberly Cheadle testified before the House Oversight Committee on Capitol Hill today following the attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump. The Secret Service says the attempted assassination was an unacceptable security breach that they need to make sure does not happen again. Cheadle says she takes full responsibility for the lapse of security and says it was the most significant operational failure of the Secret Service in decades. The Biden administration has announced more than $4 billion to address the climate crisis. The funding, which comes from the Inflation Reduction Act, will be used for 25 projects across 30 states. The White House says these projects are expected to reduce greenhouse gas pollution by as much as 971 million metric tons of carbon dioxide by 2050. That is about how much 5 million average homes emit in energy over 25 years.
Well, it was kind of a feast or famine situation type of day in terms of rain. Some places had a nice amount. Some places didn't see much of anything. Take a look here at the rainfall totals over the past 24 hours, or since midnight, I should say. We picked up 7,707 inch in Jackson. Now, some of these sensors, they don't, what's the word I'm looking for? They don't measure rainfall, if you will. Some of these sensors don't read it, so that's why there's some blanks on the map. 3,707 inch in London, 6,607 inch in Williamsburg, 7,307 inch in Middlesboro, just under 1/4 inch in Harlan. Live pinpoint Doppler radar scanning the skies and showing a round of thunderstorms pushing its way towards I-75 just to the north of London. Otherwise, a clean sweep across the area. We find temperatures right now in the upper 60s and low 70s. 69 in Grundy, 68 Clintwood, London, Manchester at 71. 72 is the current temperature in Hazard. Next 12 hours keeps temperatures in the 70s. We'll go to the upper 70s by noon tomorrow. But when you wake up in the morning, we'll see temperatures in the mid 60s. I'll have your complete first alert forecast coming up in a few minutes. Steve.
All right, Eric, thank you. As school officials are gearing up for the upcoming school year, kindergarten readiness is measured each year. House Bill 695 went into effect last Monday. The bill is aiming to further support readiness statewide. The Knott County Schools preschool director says the new bill is a step in the right direction for helping kids stay on track.
Our ultimate goal is we want all students reading on grade level at the end of 3rd grade when they exit our primary. And so we start in preschool and we do vertical alignment all the way from preschool through 3rd grade. And we try to make sure that the students are progressing where they're supposed to be.
Hall says the earlier students are ready, the easier it is down the line to help them. The new program will offer some preschool students educational-friendly technology. On Saturday, former Hazard Fire Department Deputy Chief Alvin Coddle Sr. died. Coddle served as deputy chief for 25 years. After retiring, he still felt the need to serve his community and started working for 911 dispatch in Hazard. He would be there for 10 years and would leave after becoming the executive director. Members of the community remember Coddle as a lover of people and Perry County.
His service to others, and I think part of that service comes from a love for people and a love for your community, and sacrificing and putting others ahead of self. And that's how I'll remember Alvin. He put others ahead of himself.
Coddle was known for working with heavy equipment as well. His funeral will be this Wednesday at the Middle Fork Church of Christ at noon. This weekend will mark 2 years since the historic and deadly flood that hit eastern Kentucky. It was not just people who were devastated. Many schools also lost everything. To commemorate the anniversary, the ARH Foundation for Healthier Communities is having a sports equipment drive. The foundation's executive director, Angela Bailey, says communities are still needing help rebuilding.
We continue to work with our long-term recovery teams to make sure that all of our families and individuals who are affected by the flood can be made at least partially whole again.
People can make monetary donations or buy items from the foundation's Amazon wish list. Bailey says 100% of donations will go directly to the schools impacted by the flood. Links to donate are on our website, WYMT.com. Apple Shop is planning for improvements in Letcher County, giving back to the town where they planted their temporary offices after the 2022 flood. WIMT's Buddy Forbes has more about the plans for paving and painting progress.
A project about repairing and rebuilding.
It's important for us to say that we're still actively in recovery. You know, the rest of the world has moved on, but we are still here working out those issues.
Apple Shop was awarded a grant from AARP to fix city sidewalks, plant benches, and add a splash of color with a new mural in Jenkins.
Just putting our mark on the town to remind folks that we are here standing in solidarity.
The organization is spearheading the project, focused on continued recovery and celebrating resilience after the 2022 floods, partnering with the city and local artist Lacey Hale to create a renewed space.
She has given us a sketch of the mural. It's going to be a beautiful butterfly, which I think is significant in like the metamorphosis that we've had to take on.
Representatives say it is a blessing to be able to give back to the community Apple Shop has called home since the flood soaked through their Whitesburg location.
It's always a joyous occasion to be a part of that and to just hear from them what we can improve, how we can continue to improve, and how we can continue to be a great community partner.
As they look forward to a future of access and art. In Letcher County, Buddy Forbes, WYMT Mountain News.
Apple Shop officials say the community center project is not only about improving the area for local folks, but could be a great move to boost tourism. Coming up on Mountain News at 11, officials discuss more festival opportunities for downtown Hazard as the North Fork Music Festival approaches this weekend.
And in the world of weather, we had some rain. The question is, how long will the rain chances last? I'll have that answer in the First Alert forecast coming up in a few minutes. Stay with us.